Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Jim and Sam Town Square. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy award-winning TV producer Chris Cangilla. This episode, we're recapping week 4 of August 2023. Chris, we got some stuff going on with Domesticated Jim. We got some guests in studio. There's more and more. There's such a well that's not going to run dry, I feel like, with Domesticated Jim. We have a lot to say about it. How are you doing, man, and what do you think of this week?
Yeah, it was a fun week, and oh gosh, a lot of Jimmy stories and a lot of things that he came back with as far as the apartment and all the things going on there, and I love hearing all that stuff. Domesticated Jimmy's one of my favorite, not a new character, but you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, and you could argue that Airplane Jimmy is just as good. But first, we're going to start with Sammy in this episode. We always love hearing about Sam's eats, what he's up to at WWE. So he goes to New Jersey for a convention, and good for Sam. We talked about his rise to the WWE world as a broadcaster in that capacity, and there's someone on the show who was surprised that Sam would be signing autographs at the convention. Who was that?
Yeah, Troy throwing him under the bus. Like, people actually want your autograph? I mean, come on. Troy's been out there. He's famous. He's a musician, done great things. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want his autograph, but people would be like, people want Troy's autograph? Now, wanting maybe Montone's autograph or maybe Travis, I can see. Sam's out there. He's a big name. Of course, people want his autograph.
Big time deal. Big time deal. And, big time guys got to get the right food. They got to get the food they like for some fuel when they're doing fan stuff like this. And Sam made a trip to Wawa, which I've never had Wawa. I got to have Wawa now. And Jersey Mike's the weekend of the convention. Have you ever had Wawa?
I haven't. I don't think we've seen them. I think they're more East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if you had it on a trip there. I need to, next time I'm out there, I got to make it a point to try it.
Absolutely. And I think he had the same thing, like a buffalo chicken something. But
yes. And here's what makes it interesting. I'm going to say this real quick, that because of the show, because of Sam, I only get the buffalo chicken from Jersey Mike's. I've tried other things, but nothing beats that buffalo chicken. And Sam got the same thing at Wawa and said that Jersey Mike's is far superior. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on too much not having Wawa.
I get the number 9 Club Supreme or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to get the buffalo chicken. I'll try it out too. He's got another convert.
I honestly, and today, as we record, it's Friday. I get it every Friday usually. I might have to do that. Well Jim had a good suggestion for Sam for the 8x10 that he should be signing for fans. You remember what that was?
Yeah, he said he should put a bullseye on it and get all his haters to do that. And what a great idea. And Sam's behind it. And that's what I love about Sam. Sam doesn't mind making fun of himself and doing that, and people doing, buying things because of that. And it reminded me of this story. There's a linebacker or defensive guy named Brian Bosworth. You remember the Boz at all?
Yeah.
Probably before you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. At least saw clips. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a big guy at Oklahoma, and then he went to the Seahawks in Seattle. And as a Broncos fan, I hated this guy. It was like 1987. I just hated this guy. And anytime the Broncos would play the Seahawks, with this guy there, we just hated him. And if 10,000 shirts were bought by Bronco fans that had on the shirt, it said, what's a Bosworth? Nothing, because his name's what's a Bosworth? Nothing.
Wordplay humor.
Yeah, and they're like $15 each, and the Broncos fans bought them. Brian Bosworth's company manufactured those shirts. So stupid Bronco fans like myself, he's making money off of that, and he knows, just like Sam, he knows how to market himself. And that reminded me of that. The bullseye for Sam on an 8x10 would work. And
Sam knows it's lucrative to turn heel, as they say, and
absolutely
embrace that. And if guys are coming to pay for those 8x10s, I mean, they're paying for them, so you're getting the money. Speaking of paying for things, we heard a few weeks ago that Jim he's done. He's done with the Kiss posters. It's just, he's got enough and it's over. He's constantly still buying them. It sounds like not as much on eBay, but on these Facebook auctions where, I'm lucky enough to be friends with Mr. Norton on Facebook. So I did find the Kiss auction page, which I will not name I'm not going to out Jimmy. He's a fine gentleman, but I see when he, as they were saying on a show, when you write sold, you comment sold on the different posters they're selling on a Facebook page, you win them. Jim sometimes doing a couple a day. So he's gonna need another storage locker. He came back early from doing a stand-up show Friday for an auction. Probably won that one. And
you know what that was for? Do you remember what that was for?
What was that for? Oh, yeah,
garbage can. A Kiss garbage can.
So outside of posters.
What is he? Is he in 7th grade and he's going to be decorating his, his room with posters? I love it though.
Posters, he's going to have more of the merchandise than Gene at some point. Like he's going to have his own museum.
And then during these auctions, he's really intense on them. He tells on another auctioneer. He's a tattletale because not auctioneer, but another person interested in the auction. Yeah, bidder. Thank you. For not following the rules of the auction. So
I think he tried to bid too early, right?
Something like that, and it's just nuts.
I've done some of these with comic books. I'm usually eBay. So there is an etiquette. And like, if you really want something, there's money involved. Like I kind of understand that. Just that Jim is doing this a lot. He's on a lot of these auctions. He's changing plans.
What does his girlfriend think,
Okay, so she says it was interesting how she factors into this with domesticated Jim that we have now and that we cover now. She did say no to a few. She put her foot down, and she said if he does buy those ones that she does not want in the apartment, that she had a price that she gets $6,000 worth of new furniture. I mean, Jim is a man, as Sam likes to say, of a certain means. So I could kind of see him maybe one time if he really likes these ones and she's saying no, they'd be like, all right, it's fine.
I mean, they negotiate this thing, right? They negotiate. Jim can get these posters and she can paint the bedroom pink, which we got confirmation that the bedroom is being painted pink.
I think that's okay I think it's a compromise. Like you said, I think he's going to keep buying these things and that's fine. He's gotten so involved and I guess good at these auctions. And I did see this on my Facebook that he beat another guy. It was Jim and another guy going for a lot of these posters, I guess, over the weekend. And he kept beating one guy by a few seconds. I think it was 10 seconds. He beat a guy a couple times.
I wonder if that guy ever looks up who Jim Norton is and goes, wait a minute, this is a famous comedian.
There's a
host of a great morning show. Why is he competing with me? It's just because he uses his real name. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, and we hear we hear Sam and Troy and Travis talk about that. Like, dude, that's you. Like, people probably know it's you. There's probably a good percentage. I think there's with Jim and his generation of comics, there's a kind of a crossover with like metal and rock, and so I think those people definitely know who he is. And just like I see what he's doing in the auctions, Lisa Teffts sees as well.
Yeah, we got an inside source of not only you, but Lisa Teffts is seeing what Jim bids on. So yeah, it's fun. I love it. He should be doing these things.
That's how the guys know, because of Lisa. And Jim is he's so busy with these auctions that he's forgetting a promise he made way earlier in the summer, maybe even in the spring, with the Duck and Goose Soiree, a big follow-up to his parties, like his 4th of July party at his apartment. He's supposed to have the guys in and some other friends. And here we are, late August. Do you think it's going to happen at all, Chris? At all, before the fall's over even? It's
one of the biggest disappointments of this summer, if we must say so. They wanted it in May, and then he got busy. I think he is going to do it. It's going to be probably middle September. It's in between gigs, maybe a Labor Day thing. We're coming up on Labor Day, and I know the guys are taking some time off, so maybe they'll do it over the Labor Day or prior to the Labor Day holiday. It's good because Jim has trouble thinking about how he's going to do it. He needs help. I think he wants to do it. He just is worried about doing a good job with food and everything. So he enlisted Troy. And Troy offered up his fiance, who's this world-renowned chef and baker, about helping. Yeah. And so maybe she'll be able to help him get it going at least. But, it's funny, going back to the auction thing, they talked about, well, what if Jim does have this party and we're all over there? And then Jim goes, hey, guys, I got to step out for a minute. I got to go do an auction and stuff, and he has to go do one of these Kiss poster auctions on Facebook. And then they talked about him coming back, either happy because he won it, or like angry at everybody. Okay, everybody, party's over. I didn't get the garbage can. We got to get out of here. He's going to be angry if he doesn't win the thing. So that'd be a fun part of this party. But I sure hope it happens. I think it will. Do you think it will?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. It's amazing that you brought that up, because if it did happen and he did an auction, that would be one of the best things ever. And I can 100% see that happening. If there happens to be a poster he wants on that day, in the middle of the party, he's doing it. No, I don't think it's going to happen, because it was supposed to be kind of an early summer thing.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't happened yet. And,
so Scott, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
You don't mind?
No, let's work it in.
What do you got?
Oh,
what do you got?
Oh,
there's usually not a pause when that phrase is said. It's usually an interruption in the middle of a comment by Sam.
It's like now, yes.
Yeah, Jim is putting "what do you got" in all the time. But we had a little twist on that, didn't we?
We did. He Sam did give it back to him.
Yeah, he was able to turn it on him in the middle of what Jim was talking about and say, "What do you got?" And it took Jim by surprise, and then Jim kind of realized it's maybe a little annoying that would be happening. And then Jim used it on a guest, and Sam yelled, like, "Don't say that during a guest comment. They don't know what you're doing." So I love the phrase. I love that he bothers people with it. So it's just Jim. Think about it. Jim likes to bother people with things, either his gassers or, just annoying characters, or what do you got every once in a while.
So the one time Sam did it did not deter him. I think if Sam keeps doing it, it could keep him from doing it.
I don't know. We'll see. Does anything really deter Jim when Jim wants to do something?
That's a good point.
We've seen, don't buy any more posters. Okay, I'm not gonna. There it is.
Even when we hold him accountable in the town square and they hold him accountable on the show, he still does whatever he wants. You're absolutely right. And so we have a new character that was birthed this week. I know it's close to your heart, certainly close to mine. Someone who was a wonderful guest on our show. Tell us about the new character on the show.
Yeah, it was the birth of Quanstradumbass, which is Troy, and that's not a character; it's who he is now. Troy started. Troy, we all know Troy loves conspiracies, right? And so Troy really loves following this Twitter handle, Illuminati bot, and which is a lot of conspiracies, and Troy loves looking at them. Well, he had a lot of predictions about things that are going to happen for the rest of this year and in 2024. And a lot of those had to do with surrounding COVID and COVID coming back, and then mask restrictions, and then work from home restrictions and all that kind of stuff. It was so much so that Travis started writing them down and really notating when these things are going to happen, according to Troy.
That's a producer. That's a producer.
Yeah, there you go. So Troy Quanstradumbass was featured all week on the Jim and Sam show.
He also was a little ahead of his time in tipping off perhaps the authorities in New York. I mean, did Troy's Instagram post showing the knockoff merchants that were discussed on the show, we were hoping that he would bring Jim down to Broadway and Canal there to have Jim bring all these goodies in the studio. But then all of a sudden these guys get busted by the NYPD, 30 million worth of stuff. Is it Troy's fault?
I don't know if it's Troy's Instagram led the NYPD to that $30 million bust, but it's those knockoff goods on Canal Street. We talked about it, and it's the timing's odd, right? They talked about it last week. The bust happened this week, but rest assured, Troy showed us on Instagram that same day, if not the next day, that all those not those confiscated, but all those knockoffs and bootleg materials were back on Canal Street for there. And then they had some interesting stories about how it used to happen. Do you remember them talking about that?
Yeah. It's funny. They made a comparison to Goodfellas when Robert De Niro's trying to get Karen. Hey, come on, take a peek back here. Come on, you're fine.
Yeah, go to this room and see this extra. Yeah, I don't know if I would like to do that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think Troy says like a big warehouse of goods, and it's a little shady. But I mean,
Travis did it. I think Travis went shopping there.
Yep. And as Sam pointed out, there's a lot of women there because women be shopping.
They do, and Travis fit right in, right?
I think he did. And so just as the knockoff goods returned right after the bust on Broadway and Canal, we had a major return. One of the most, I would say, beloved bits on the show is back. And I cannot believe it. The Waterbugs are back. And let's talk about the epic way they returned, Chris. How did the first Waterbug return in our lives?
As if, falling from the sky, manna from heaven, a water bug fell on Jim's girlfriend's head. And just a lot of things ensued right after that. He was spraying chemicals on it to kill it, but then he felt bad about it. So he covers it with a paper towel and then considers punching it. Once again, he's back to punching roaches. So spray, napkin, punch. I was like, why didn't you step on it? Sam said. Well, it was underneath the desk. So, yeah. And why was it underneath the desk?
Why was it underneath the desk?
Well, someone tends to eat in that area where the desk is.
Oh, okay. I see. I know this is where I appreciate Jim's honesty. I know he berated his poor girlfriend for the Waterbugs being there because she eats. I didn't, if they're by the desk and that's where she eats, that's kind of plausible, actually.
It is, but we both are married. Are you going to blame
No.
our spouses on these things? Especially, I mean, we wouldn't do it on our show, let alone the big powerhouse that Jim and Sam's show is.
No.
Yeah, so it was pretty heated. It got so heated that what did we get from it?
We got, well, the guys got, and I
guess we didn't.
I really wish we got, but I understand why Jim did not reveal this. The guys were able to listen to audio of Jim berating his girlfriend during the Waterbug incident, which reminds me of the Hornet flying behind the Kiss poster incidents when there's high stakes, high tension going on in these situations. Jim just lets whoever's there have it. I appreciate his honesty with his rage in the moment. And Matone played music for the listeners while the guys went over it.
And my wife and I have a kind of fun relationship where we pick on each other and give each other grief, kind of like at the comedy table. And we're kind of harsh on each other. That I think if outside people were around us, they're like, these guys don't like each other. Their marriage is going to fail. But that's just how we do our thing. And I think that's how Jim and his girlfriend probably talk. Jim, is a comedian, so he's going to, from the comedy cellar table, he's going to give grief to her too. And I'm sure she gives it right back. But sometimes it does get a little overheated. And Jim said, he was being unreasonable and took ownership of that. But he saw more water bugs on his terrace.
Jim is honest to a fault. That's why these altercations happen. And then there were more water bugs on the terrace, as you said. So that's what every time. I mean, we got to go back and listen and count how many times these things have popped back up. But every time Travis always says, "Oh, you got an infestation." I was like, "No, it's just one. There's more. There's more."
Why are we calling them water bugs too? They're roaches. Yeah, everybody knows they're roaches, but he has to call them. I do like the terminology, but they're what you can do. So he has a whole new plan, right? So he knows where they're coming in from, which he always knows where they're coming in from. And he put foil member in there and did a lot of different things. So he thinks they're coming in from where they took off the automatic. They had the automatic curtains and they reinstalled them and stuff where they didn't seal those up properly. So his plan is to have them come back, take off these automatic curtains, and then get an exterminator in that same day so he can look around and say, okay, yeah, they're there. But I guess in all of this, he's never had an exterminator come over. Wouldn't that be one of the first things you would do if you couldn't handle the problem?
I think so. I hope they explore that too. Like, he does not want to have to, sometimes you have to leave for a day, or does he not? Is he not comfortable with the chemicals kind of just staying there? I don't know. It'd be interesting.
It could be any one of those things. Plus, maybe there's a record of it. And then when he goes to sell this place, that
we know Jim will have a record. We know Jim will have a record because he won't want them looking at his Kiss posters because he has cameras everywhere,
right?
Including facing in the closet. So, so more with Jimmy here, and then we'll get to some interesting people that have been calling in. But with Jim, we have not heard Chip regularly or in a while. You could kind of say the same for Doug, and I always think that the characters come in phases, and we certainly heard them a lot during the pandemic, because he was doing cameos and because Chip was on the TBS show, Jason Sudeikis. So I want to ask you, do you think we're going to ever regularly hear Chip again, or even Doug Bell? Or you think Jim's just in a funk with them now, or is he done?
I think this came about because callers were just, there's a true sadness out there, they said, about the callers missing new Chip stuff. And I think Jim's frustration with Chip is that he had a hard time booking guests when he would tape those. And the guys in the studio had a good solution. It's like, just do your normal set of people that you would always have with you doing Chip, and then occasionally have a guest on here and there. So if you know that, certain people are going to be the people that support in the Chip studio, if you will, and you have that scheduled, once every 2 weeks, that's easier to take care of. I think it was just getting a little too much for Jim to deal with.
I agree. I think, a lot of it's not his fault. I think a couple of people did him dirty. There was Handsome Rob not recording the live show in Philly. Really had an effect on him. You can still hear his rage whenever it's brought up. And there was the girl who was the co-host before Zia. And she just, I don't know if you remember this, but she just kind of suddenly quit. And it kind of came out, Jim kind of alluded to it, that her boyfriend wasn't comfortable with the way Chip was talking to her.
It's
and
all
stuff.
made up. I mean, my
Yes, I
goodness,
mean,
if you're gonna be part of something that's gonna be on air in a comedic world, you're gonna get beat up and just part of it. You can't be one of those, white knight guys. You're talking to my girlfriend.
exactly, totally. Doesn't bode well with Jim in the show, and yeah, so he had some interference. Kind of understands frustration. I love the characters. Hope they come back. And I apologize to our listeners if I sound hoarse. A lot of viruses going around right now. But let's talk about those callers, some of which said they're missing Chip. There were some strange guys. I don't know if you want to touch on one or both.
Yeah, we'll do real quick. There's a Jeff that kept on talking about parts per billion, and I can't remember. Was this about the chemicals for killing bugs, or was this a climate change thing? Do you recall?
It was climate change, about carbon monoxide, and you can tell, like I guess, good for him. He read this. I don't know specifics on climate change. I know the weather's insane and it's not good, but like it's a talking point at a dinner party for this guy, and it is so annoying.
It was really annoying, and of course, geez, we just came out of 2 extremely hot days here, where it was 100 degrees with the humidity. It was like a heat factor of like 120. So yeah, there's some craziness going on. And then we had on Thursday, Thor called in, and Thor's a complete weirdo because he keeps on thinking that Jason Ellis ran the channel there, and he loves Jason Ellis, and he's saying how bad Jim and Sam is, and he doesn't really listen. But we all know when you say that and you call on a radio show, you're listening, right? So yeah, he thought Jason ran the channel. Like, we don't even run the channel. It's just nuts.
No, you can tell he listened. He brought up stuff about like Carrot and some other things where you can tell he listens like all the time. And Jim, I love that Jim had almost the line of the week for me where he said, look, in the midst of your alcoholism, like you could tell that guy's just been up all night drinking.
Yeah, it just slurred. Fool. Yeah,
so
I love
that
it.
was absolutely hilarious. And we saw some more activity. If you follow Travis on social media or you heard the guys talk about the show, the Teffts are going wild. They didn't join the Biggins this time. There might not have been a soft or full swap. Just kidding, guys. But they did go to Brazilian Steakhouse, which I don't know about you. I absolutely love a Brazilian Steakhouse. Some wine, keep the meat coming.
I search those out, and it's like our special treat if we ever get an opportunity to go. We try to go for lunch because it's a lot more affordable if you go for lunch versus dinner. But yeah, bring it on. It's my favorite of the favorite. It's something that you train for, and you make sure that your stomach's ready for it because it's great. And you do get those meat sweats. And like they said, don't be a rookie. Don't have the salad bar. Don't have the cheeses. Just do the meat and be happy, right?
You have to. There's some sides there, but I agree. Those places are the best. My absolute favorite.
And one more thing on the Teffts, Jim said something very funny in how they were talking about how great Travis's wife Lisa is, and she's beautiful. She's in great shape. She's perfect. And we think that maybe she's trying to get a lawyer. Jim mentioned that she's trying to get a lawyer, trying to figure out if she should be with a guy like Travis. No, it's great. And then if you saw Travis's Instagram, even Thursday afternoon, she mentioned that Lisa mentioned that he showered her with gifts and knows her really well, and that he got her. So they're intact. They're great. They have a great family. I just love that they're stepping out a little bit. Yeah, it's cool.
They're letting their hair hang down. And Jim has brought up that lawyer line a few times in the past.
It's good.
It hits every time. Another thing that hits every time we haven't heard in a while is DeBlasio. His burger elements got a little play again. I mean, my God, you talk about cringe pandemic moments. We had some here in Chicago, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we sure did. I mean, the burger element was just such a weird thing, such a weird time. You had to, try to get people to get the poke, if you will, or what was it called? Not the poke.
I don't know what they call the prick.
The prick, maybe, but that didn't sound right either. To get the vaccination. But yeah, he did that, and then we had Lori Lightfoot here in Chicago doing the Rona Destroyer, and then as Jim always gets confused with he thought it was a COVID cowboy, but there was a census cowboy, so she did some bad things. And then a great guy in Philadelphia, not related to COVID or the pandemic, but what would he say?
Oh, he was just it was the mayor of Philly, right? That's how they got to him.
Yep.
He was a mayor also. He mops the floor with these fools. I believe he's calling a reporter a crumb bum. This is one of my all-time favorite, Jim and Sam. clips that they
really good stuff. And that was from like the 70s or something.
Yeah, it was late, and he just had like an old school. Like I forgot he was a mayor. I thought he sounds like a detective or something. He's like you.
I think he was a former police officer. Yeah,
you go call him a crumb bum, a crumb creep, and then a crumb. And he just shortened it to crumb. You're a crumb. Just the best. I love that. I love that clip. Stuff. We gotta give our condolences. R.I.P. to Cripp Daddy. His real name was Donovan Castillo, and we listened to him on Jim and Sam. The guys put out a nice message about him. Passed away, had some disabilities, but he's actually not too far from us here in the kind of Chicago area, from Rockford. Comedian, and actually was able, despite what he had to go through in his life, actually had a pretty big following and had a good appearance on Jim and Sam.
Yeah, and that was just back in May, and he spoke about how he wasn't even supposed to be around still at that point because of his ailments, and so I'm glad we got to meet him. I'm glad we got to share a little bit with him before he did pass. But it's always sad. It's just, you're dealt these cards, and you and I have been blessed. And you get guys that haven't gotten that, and I feel bad for him.
Absolutely, 100%. And he lived every day, like you said. He already beat the odds, and talked about it in Jim and Sam. And every day was just meant a lot to him, and he enjoyed that. And it sounded like that. We know, switching topics here, not an easy segue, but we know that Jim does go on tour with Bert. Bert's doing his mega tour. And I actually, before they brought up this picture of Bert where his guts hanging out, he's like on stage, it looks enormous.
Oh, I think he was pitching. He was doing the.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it wasn't on stage.
Yeah, first pitch on a baseball game.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, he was. And I mean, he looked like he's having a blast, but he also, his gut was enormous. And they talked about how he wants to lose weight, but we've heard Jim talk about how good he treats the comics with the catering and the snacks and the meals, in the green room and around these shows. Do you see Bert Kreischer losing weight anytime soon?
I do. I don't know how soon it will be, because it's not easy, as you and I know, that we work at it all the time. But Bert's one of those guys that goes to the extreme. So if something's going to happen, I could see him fasting and doing it that way, just some weird thing, But yeah, I think he is going to work on it and do it. Jim thought he might be a little younger than he is. I think Bert is actually exactly 50.
Okay.
And as you know, it gets tougher as we get older. So we'll see. I hope so. I hope he feels good on that.
It does. He did a weight challenge on Rogan before, and I think got close to like his target. I interviewed him, and he is a very hardworking guy that achieves a lot. I think if he sets his mind to it, he absolutely can. Might be hard touring now, but I think he can do it soon. Great guy, Bert. Really enjoyed talking to him. Speaking of snacks and eating, Jim, the part of the domesticated Jim is he's having a rough time. We know he's I think he's going to the gym, but he's not eating better. He is he's eating some snacks, whatever his girlfriend either buys or cooks up. What's the new vice, Chris?
Yeah, barbecued kettle chips, which kettle chips are great, with sour cream as a dip.
Oh, so good.
And I would do this. I would do it all the time. I mean, geez, that just sounds wonderful. And I used to use Triscuits and cottage cheese, which sounds gross to a lot of people. My wife cannot look at cottage cheese because it's all, she thinks it's curdled milk, but I would have cottage cheese and Triscuits. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things. But yeah, I think Jim would do better if his girlfriend wasn't eating everything that she wanted to eat. I mean, I think he could probably stick to his diet a little bit better, but I love hearing what he eats. I mean, last week it was cheesy Tostitos. Something like that?
Yes, that was it. That was his vice then. We got to tell Jim about your Triscuits and cottage cheese. That might rival pretzels.
Didn't they talk about Triscuits and how they hated that because it wasn't a very tasty thing? It was like someone mentioned it was eating the other side of Frosted Flakes, not the frosted side. So I liked them.
No harm, no foul. And look, we talked about Jim and his obsession with Kiss merchandise, especially posters. He's doing some other kissing. We've heard about in the past that he has to kiss the stuffed animal before bed. Domesticated Jim does, and now he's been sleeping a little better wearing his apnea mask, but he's kissing a stuffed animal through the mask. Chris, this is a thing where I love the show, and I remember where I am and what I'm doing because some breaks I can just get a clear picture in my head of what they're talking about. Was this one of these moments for you? We can picture Jim kissing this stuffed animal through the mask.
Yeah, because he's reluctant with the whole process anyway, and now he has this mask on. He's trying to get some sleep and. Before he has, got to kiss the animal or doll or whatever it is, stuffed animal. Yeah, so he doesn't want to do it, and so much so that he'll take the stuffed animal doll and put it either out on the terrace or real close to the terrace, and then she's trying to find it before bed, and then he's, oh yeah, I saw it on the terrace. She's like, oh, he's cold. He must be cold. She says. He just loves giving her grief on that.
Crazy. And it's so crazy. He gets pictures of the stuffed animal on the road.
Yeah.
It's just, it can't escape him.
Nope, can't escape.
Real quick, we're starting to move along here, get close to our time, but it's the GOP debate was kind of what was to be expected. And it's one of those things where the show like really is like, I was talking to my wife last night. She keeps up on all politics. And my whole thing is that everyone picks their side. And everyone goes completely with everything on that side. Like no one can just kind of look at the individual or see, yeah, this my side has these issues. So I love that this show, they just laugh at whoever it is, either side.
Either side. It's just an idiocracy on either side, and just the lock, stock, and barrel that they're in each camp. And then they have to look if they raise their hands during the debate to see if people are clapping or if everybody else is doing it. So yeah, it was crazy. And other things that I want to get to if we could, because it was just so funny, is Sam was talking about being worried when he was in high school about getting tossed in the lake outside there, that he avoided the lake as a freshman, because he heard all freshmen get tossed in the lake, so he avoided it all year.
That's pretty funny.
And for me, I remember going in high school and we were told that every guy was going to get a swirly from the upperclassmen. Do you remember what swirlies are?
Of course.
Yeah. Dipping your head in the old toilet and doing a flush. So I was a little scared about that. So thank God I didn't get one of those. And it was all myth, like we talked about. So
for real, I played football. I was kind of in two camps. I played football, and this is freshman year when a lot of hazing would happen. I played football, and I would go to theater practice after and do plays at high school. And so no issues with football, but the theater geeks, as you can call them, and there's some great people in theater, but the guys kept telling me that, look, your first play, you gotta get paddled. And they kept saying it like it was a real thing. And like, I pretended to be tough because they knew I played football. I was like, you guys bail me, I'm gonna kick your ass. Kind of like Jim said to the guy in the car. Like,
yeah, I will kill you. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I was in both camps too. I played football, but then I was a musician, so I was in the band. So I was
and a teen heartthrob in magazines.
Yeah, well, so, there you go. So that protected
multiple
me.
Camps.
I probably got more, picked on because people wanted to beat my ass back then too. So should we go on to best guess? I think we're running out of time.
Let's do it. Yeah, we are getting a little tight on time here. And they had multiple guests this week. So our choices for this week were Karen Feehan, which I feel like she hasn't been on in a while. Always has a good rapport with all the guys in the studio. Ralph Sutton, who is growing on me a lot. And we got Brendan Sagalow. So I'll let you break down what you thought of the guest, Chris, and tell me, why don't you go first, say who was the best in your eyes.
It sounds good. And I'll just briefly tell you a little bit about what each one brought to the table. Karen's trying to lose or gain weight, which is weird. Never heard a woman really say that. She has a 26-year-old boyfriend. She's going to be babysitting for her 2-year-old niece. And then she's interested in buying some real estate. So Karen must be doing pretty well if you're going to buy some real estate in New York. And then Ralph Sutton, of course, with the Skank Fest that he was promoting. He's like, I guess he runs like 25 miles a week, which that's a lot. That's huge.
That's crazy.
They talked about the contests they're having, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. So you can kind of put together all those things that they would be offering in that contest. They talked about the gathering of the Juggalos, and then Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and all the hoax. And then Sagalow was in, and they had some fun with Sagalow. You want to mention what they talked about with him?
Well, one of the things was Jim did trick him into believing that he went to high school with Ted Cruz. So I don't know if anyone who knows Jim, he says something that ridiculous, you should kind of like realize that that's probably not true. Yeah,
and I'll just leave it at that. And then Sagalow kind of had a horrible improv with the story about the guy on the football game, the owner of the Washington Commanders. Put the play-by-play guy, I think it was Joe Buck, put his left hand out referencing the guy, and the guy shook his hand or something like that. It was just really awkward. And so Sagalow said, we should start calling them the Washington Handshakers. Dead silent. He just really bombed. And then
not chip joke. It's not chip joke.
No. And then they started talking about it, and then a caller called in and used it, and then I started liking it. It was kind of one of those things that just kind of grew on me. So it was stupid. So for me, I think it's going to be Ralph. Ralph, I haven't heard on the show before myself. I'm sure he has been on, but he brought in a lot of different things, and it was funny and really just sat in and fit in well with the guys. How about you?
I agree with Ralph. That contest sounded amazing. The fact that he can make it happen. It sounds like kind of an old school Howard Stern radio contest. So I thought I thought he was the best, and I remember him. He is a big podcast producer, I believe, as far as comedy podcasts go as well, and a comic, regular a lot of New York clubs. So I always think he's funny and interesting, and he is kind of growing on me more and more.
All right, so we're lock, stock, and barrel on guests of the week. What's next?
Yeah, we agree on Ralph for guest of the week. Let's get to the line of the week here before we run out of time. I mean, there were some good ones. I'm going to let you go first, and maybe I don't know if you got a couple finalists or if you just got one.
I do have two, and this one's short. They got on the subject of talking about hot dog mistakes that Sam has witnessed over the years, and what hot dog was doing, and Sam said something that made me laugh. He goes, usually he doesn't make a mistake more than once, but he makes a mistake. He makes every mistake once. So usually he doesn't make a mistake more than once, but he makes every mistake once, which was kind of funny and probably true. But mine was a combo. The one that I loved the most was this combo of everybody kind of getting in there. And it happened when Mike potted up the music during the confrontation they were listening to with Jim and his girlfriend. So he potted up the music. They listened to the argument. And when they came back, Montone kept the music kind of up and loud. And they gave him a hard time for not, fading it out like he's supposed to as a producer. And he said, well, we never ran that drill before, which was kind of funny and got a chuckle. But then Jim said, yeah, but in football, when the guy runs out of bounds, he doesn't keep on running to the locker room, right? And then Sam said, you never go full Gump. So it was a combo. So that was my line of the week. Do you have a line of the week?
Do Sammy's for your finalists. Yes, mine was the first one you mentioned, Sammy's. That perfectly put hot dog. I painted him in the right light for me. He doesn't make the same mistake twice, but he makes every mistake once. That's perfect. And I think it was last week. If people want to go back and listen, if you missed it, we had a great hot dog breakdown of correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was last week of all his faux pas and why Sam continues to work with him. That was perfect. That was vintage hot dog and what he's all about. So great.
Yeah.
That's my line of the week for Sam. Right,
we usually share a little bit of what we're going to talk about. You and I talk, but we always kind of hide line of the week. So we're both.
I like doing that.
And so I'm so sorry I stole yours. I had no idea that.
No, that was just that was a mere finalist for you.
We have like minds. So
yeah. Good line. Great week of shows. Thank you all for watching and listening. We appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to you as well. Now, the guys are going to be taking off next week. We probably won't see them again until the Tuesday after Labor Day. But rest assured, we'll take care of you here in the town square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.